Second session. Welcome back, everybody. To invite our third speaker of this session, which is Professor João Pinho, and he has a very interesting and manifold background. On the one hand side, he has been a full professor and member or even president in different societies related to the topic of renewable energies. And even if officially retired, he is still working as a senior visiting researcher in that domain in Brazil. And on the other hand side, he founded the My Way Motorcycle Safety in 2016 with the aim of spreading information on motorcycling. And I would say this is exactly what brings you here today. And we are very much looking forward to your speech on rider training.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Mr. Will. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here for the second time in this conference. And what led us to prepare this course? We see that there are many rider assistance systems today which are very important, which are wonderful. We have seen some of them in the morning. And we also have a problem with that because many people, unfortunately, many people think that the rider systems will do everything for them. And I've heard many times people say, my motorcycle has ABS or CBS or whatever. And they think, I don't need to practice braking. Now, another important thing is that many motorcycle schools, especially in Brazil, but I suppose it's not very different all over the world. They just don't pay attention to if the rider really learns. They just want them to pass the driver's license examination. And as a result, many riders are there with minimum skills and always having problems with accidents for themselves and for the other participants of the traffic. And so, even when the people think, well, my skills are not very good, so I will do an advanced course. Many advanced courses, and I have taken a lot of them in Brazil with BMW, with Triumph, with Harley Davidson, with the police, and in the United States also. They just pay attention to the practical part. And they say, when you brake, you cannot swerve. But they don't say why. They don't explain why. And many other things. So I think the theoretical part is as important as the practical one. So, and I've seen that in the courses that I've instructed in Brazil, that when the people learn how it works and why they are doing sometimes types of exercises, they do it much better, they do it fearless, especially leaning the motorcycle or braking in on wet pavement, for example. And that's the concept of the course. We have basic to advanced training using our own place there that we developed exactly for that. We have both on-road and off-road. Here I'm going to speak only about the on-road. And we introduced the concept of preventive riding, which is different from defensive riding. It comes before, because when you talk about defensive, you are already defending from something. And the preventive riding concept is to avoid to go into the defensive riding procedure. So we teach the motorcyclists how to proceed in real situations on the road. And we have our place, and we teach people from 1 participant to 5 because of the size of the place, and also to pay attention and to adapt the exercises to the rider's needs. As I said, 2 parts, and I have already said that, so I'll go on. Our training center has 2 parts, on-road and off-road, and also some facilities for the people to rest, hydration, and so on. And we have a YouTube channel that you can see in these links there, some of the exercises that we made there, some of the courses, and there are also other exercises and other videos, all of them on motorcycle safety. These are some pictures. We have a shed for the people to rest and for hydration, and we have the paved part there. You see the paved part is all painted with markings, each mark in a different color. Each color, it's a different exercise or different groups of exercises. And during the rest period, we make one group of exercise, then we rest for 15 minutes for hydration, etc. And a helper comes and puts the cones for the next group of exercise. We always have an ambulance with an intensive care unit there. Thanks God it was never necessary, but that's it. The theoretical part is composed of 14 topics. I'm not going to go through each one of them because of the time, but you can see here the most important thing is the first one, which is the basics of motorcycle physics. Then you have a lot of things. Another very important thing is the 3 A's rule, which is attention, assessment, and action. Then we have the correct use of the motorcycle and rider resources. We use an acronym COFRES, which means safe for saving money in Portuguese. And each letter stands for 2 parts of the body or the motorcycle. For example, the C is for cerebro, brain, and for cabeça, which is head. So how to use your brains and your heads, and so on. Then the techniques for slow speed maneuver, braking techniques, cornering, which is, these 2 topics are the most difficult that we see the people having, and the concepts of preventive riding, and so on. These are some examples, pictures, instructing the people in the theoretical part, the motorcycle movements, cam circle, and friction. And we use motorcycle models, we use bicycle wheels, we use even brooms to show the physics of the motorcycle. Then we have the practical part. It's 22 exercises. Sometimes we don't use all 22, but we divide them in groups, and between each group we have an interval for resting and hydration. That's when the helper goes there and changes the cones according to the markings for the next group of exercise. One of the most important exercises that we do there is number 3, which is the throttle, clutch, and rear brake control. It's the most important, I would say, for all other exercises. The size of the slaloms and the circles depends on the motorcycle types. If it's a smaller 150 cc or if it's 1200 cc, then we have according to the motorcycle, and also sometimes according to the rider's ability. This is the other set of exercises. We have a lunch break, and during the lunch break we go to a nearby restaurant and we practice group riding, and the instructor always observes how the riders act. Until the end, at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, then we close the course and we have certificates delivery, and then we go back to the city. It's about 60 kilometers from the capital city of Pará and away. And we again observe the difference when we went to the training center and when we come back. These are some examples of exercises: static balance, slaloms, 90-degree pullouts and curves, U-turns, braking on a wet pavement, brake and escape or swerve. And these are some of the exercise patterns which are internationally used by the police, by trainers all over the world. In the paper there is a list of reference where you can see all these patterns there. There is a reference for that. These are some of them. And this is another example of the course held in another place. People from another city, about 300 kilometers from Belém, they wanted to have the course, and there were 12 people, so they didn't want to come to Belém, and we held the course there. And the people there just practiced always with the passengers, the pillions. So you can see here how to lift a heavy motorcycle, throttle and clutch control, offset cone weave with a pillion, the 90-degree pull-out, and here's a young boy beginning very early to learn how to ride correctly. These are the conclusions. So the course is based on the experience that I've had for more than 40 years as a researcher, not directly in the motorcycle area, but it helps also. It's a lot of physics. And we'd like to emphasize the importance of teaching the theory consistently before going into the practical part. And we have seen that the participants make quicker progress when they understand why they are doing a specific exercise and the principles behind it. The exercise were adapted from many years of experience as a motorcyclist, taking courses in Brazil, as I said already, in the United States, and also practicing and instructing these drills. And the course has been applied successfully to all sizes of motorcycles, as you've seen in the pictures, and you can see better in the paper, and different riders with different ages, different skills, etc. And at the end of the course, we make an evaluation from the participants, and sometimes we make some adaptations, some changes according to what they say. Well, that's all I wanted to present, and I'm ready for the questions if there are some.
So thank you very much for these interesting insights. First thing to mention, if I'm ever in Brazil, I will give you a call, because the pictures looked quite interesting in combination with your approach. Seems to be an interesting thing to do. Besides that, I recognized that the topic of passing a license test versus learning to ride seems to be an internationally occurring, let's say, discussion. And I'm happy that we will most probably have some questions for discussion from the audience now, maybe.
I'd just like to say something about the examination. Examination for motorcycle riders in Brazil is very easy. You don't even have to put a second gang. No? Here in Germany, it's a little more difficult. I've made it here. I have also a German license, Deutsche Führerschein. I've lived here 5 years, from 1985 to 1990. I made my PhD in Aachen, and so I have all my driver's license here in Germany, and I know it's a little harder than in Brazil, but still very easy.
Thank you for that. Any questions? Yes, please. Oh, perfect. We actually have 2 questions in a row. It's the first time. Maybe start from the front.
Yes, my name is Christian Gröger from Robert Bosch. I was a couple of times in Brazil, and I think the main crazy situations I saw there are the motorcycle riding between the cars, the traffic jam, and they ride like hell between the cars. Mm-hmm. So, and the accident happened when a car changed the line. So I think I expect that also passenger car license should be aware. So by training the car driver to take awareness of the motorcycle rider, is there also some ideas that you extend your activity towards passenger car driver?
Yes, but the problem is to convince the people to do that. I've tried many times to put rider education in schools. Not only when you have to take your examination for the driver license, but also in the schools. And so that not only the motorcycle riders would learn something about motorcycling, but also the other drivers and the pedestrians and everyone else. Driving in the corridor, let's say, as lane splitting or lane filtering, is not prohibited in Brazil, but it's not regulated. And I'm fighting for that regulation, because I think it should be, like here in Germany, people are also trying to regulate the lane splitting, but until now I haven't convinced the people, I'm sorry. And I always ask the people, what's the most important part of the motorcycle? And people say, well, the brakes and the motor, and I say, no, it's the part that stays between the seat and the handlebar.
No, it's not the fuel tank, obviously.
No, not the fuel tank.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. The second question, please.
Good afternoon, Dolf Elliges, FIMA. When you mentioned preventive riding, I expected to hear a little bit more about behavioral aspects and how to behave in traffic and how to avoid getting into risky situations. But you didn't tell much about that. Do you pay attention to that in the courses?
Of course. Unfortunately, the time is too short to explain more about that. In the paper, you have more explanation about the preventive riding. But I introduced this concept, and I say it's divided in 3 parts. It's the before, the during, and the after. So the preventive rider starts before even you turn on your motorcycle. So you have to see if the brakes and the clutch and lights and everything is working. And if you, the rider, is also prepared to go into the traffic. So there is this first part and then the during. And I discuss everything about that in the course, and in the paper I have also some information about that. Unfortunately, here we don't have the time for that. But I will be glad to talk to you about that later if you want.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Maybe a last question?
Raphael Pless, WVV. Hi. You have stated that it is rather important to teach the students about the riding physics and all the theory.
Sure.
Can you maybe emphasize a little bit more on that? What is the main aspect that they are taking from that? What is the main issue that they are learning about, and maybe something that is new for them?
Yes. Most of the people, they have no idea how a motorcycle works, how a clutch works, or how the brakes and everything. So you have to teach everything to them. And also motorcycle balance, the physics behind it. You see, I've seen in many courses, for example, professional instructors saying that when you swerve, for example, that people use counterbalancing. I don't use this term because I think it's not counterbalancing, counter-steering, I'm sorry. I think the Germans use the right term for that. They say Lenkimpuls. Because it's just an impulse. It's not counter-steering, as the people say. And they don't explain why. Some explain it's because of the gyroscopic effect. The gyroscopic effect has, of course, an influence, but it's not that makes the motorcycle incline and then go to the direction. There are other most important physics behind that. That's why I use a broom, for example. To show that you saw the broom there. People say, wow, you're using a broom. Yes, to show that. And the other thing is that there is something that I learned here in Germany, a phrase that is appointed to Boltzmann, Ludwig Boltzmann, which is, es gibt nichts Praktischeres als eine gute Theorie. There is nothing more practical than a good theory.
Thank you very much. It was a perfect concluding comment for your presentation. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So.